9 things that drain your energy. Avoid them. Have you ever stopped to think about how some people have the power to leave you completely drained, like their mere presence sucks all your energy, leaving you feeling heavier, slower, like the weight of the world is on your shoulders? Often we don't even realize it, but we're surrounded by these people who gradually drain our vitality. And the worst part? This has become so common that we begin to accept it as part of life, as if there were no other choice. But let me tell you something, you do have a choice. Imagine your energy as a battery. Every encounter, conversation, and interaction either charges or drains that battery. And when we're surrounded by negative people, those who are always complaining, criticizing, bringing emotional heaviness, it's like your battery is being drained without you even realizing it. Suddenly, you find yourself feeling tired, irritable, and unmotivated without knowing why. Recognize this, and don't think it's just strangers or acquaintances. Sometimes it's those closest to us, a friend, a co-worker, even a family member. The relationship you have with them feels like a loop of drama, problems that never get solved, emotional manipulation that traps you. And in the end, who pays the price? You, with your mental and emotional health. Now I ask you, is it worth it to keep carrying that weight? Why let someone steal your peace of mind when you can take control of your own life? Stoic philosophy teaches us something fundamental. We can't control others' attitudes, but we can control how we react to them. And that's where change begins. Recognizing these negative people is the first step. Understanding that it's not selfish to protect yourself, that it's not cruel to set boundaries, it's about emotional survival. You need to learn to create mental and physical barriers that will protect you from that drain. You know that person who only calls to complain but never asks how you're doing. Or that friend who only reaches out when they're in the middle of some drama. It's time to change that dynamic. It doesn't mean cutting all ties, but rather redefining how you relate to them. Say no more often. Keep a healthy distance. Limit the time you spend in conversations that bring nothing positive into your life. And here's a powerful secret. Surrounding yourself with people who lift you up and inspire you will transform your life. Instead of wasting your time and energy on those who bring you down, seek out those who make you smile, who believe in you, who celebrate your victories and support you through difficulties. That's what a true exchange looks like. Think for a moment. What would your life be like if you could preserve your energy and focus on what truly matters? What could you achieve if you let go of the weight of these toxic relationships and started investing your time in genuine connections that make you feel good? Now I want you to reflect on this. Who are the people who have been draining your energy the most? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? You don't have to carry the burden of others. Let's learn together to protect what is rightfully ours, our peace of mind, our energy, and our happiness. Life is too short to live at the mercy of other people's chaos. You deserve more. And believe me, by taking that step to protect yourself, to surround yourself with positivity, everything around you starts to change. So start now. Evaluate your relationships, set your boundaries, and remember, you're not alone in this. Now that we understand the devastating impact negative people and toxic relationships can have on our energy and well-being, it becomes clear how important it is to protect our peace of mind. And while we're talking about how these external influences affect us, it's worth reflecting on another trap that drains us from within, the relentless pursuit of perfection. Because sometimes the biggest energy thief isn't out there in the people around us, but within us. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. How many times have you caught yourself reviewing the same task for the 10th time, adjusting tiny details that deep down, no one but you will notice? Or how many nights have you spent rewriting a message, changing commas, because it just wasn't good enough? If this scene sounds familiar, you're not alone. Perfectionism is one of the biggest silent saboteurs out there. And let me tell you a secret. It doesn't just keep you from moving forward, it drains you in ways you can't even imagine. At first, perfectionism seems like a quality. After all, who doesn't want to do everything in the best way possible? Who doesn't want their projects, work, and achievements to be flawless? But what many don't realize is that chasing perfection is like running on a hamster wheel. You give it your all, but you never actually get anywhere. The truth is, good enough is often more than enough. It's what allows you to finish, move on, and achieve new things. But by insisting that only perfection is acceptable, you trap yourself in an endless cycle of revisions, corrections, and frustrations. And you know what else? Perfection is an illusion. There will always be something that could have been done differently, and in the quest for this unattainable ideal, you sacrifice your time, your peace, and once again, your energy. Now, let me ask you, how many opportunities have you missed because you didn't feel ready? How many dreams have been shelved because you thought they weren't perfect enough to put into action? Perfectionism paralyzes. It makes you believe it's never the right moment, that it's never enough, that you're never good enough. But Stoic philosophy teaches us something very valuable. Not everything is within our control. And often, perfection isn't either. We can control our efforts, the dedication we put into our tasks, but the final outcome, not always. And that's okay. What truly matters is progress, movement, advancement, not the pursuit of an impossible ideal. Imagine how much you could accomplish if you simply accepted that good enough is already enough, that your efforts, your achievements, even if imperfect, have value. By embracing this mindset, you free yourself from the weight of perfectionism and start living more lightly, with more purpose. So here's a challenge for you. The next time you find yourself stuck in the details, wondering if it's good enough, stop and think. Will the extra time you're investing really make a difference in the final result? Or are you just getting caught in the perfectionism trap? Often, it's better to finish, move on, and learn from the experience than to stay stuck in something that never seems complete. Remember, perfection is the enemy of progress, and progress is what moves you forward, what drives you to achieve more, to live more fully. So step off that hamster wheel, accept good enough, celebrate your progress, and keep moving, because that's how the greatest achievements happen. Next time you find yourself stuck in the details, ask yourself, does this really need to be perfect, or is it already enough to move forward? Set a deadline for your tasks. When the time is up, move on, knowing you did your best within that period. Now that we've reflected on the impact of perfectionism and how it can paralyze us, let's take another step towards a lighter and more productive life. Because while perfectionism traps us in an unattainable ideal, there's something more tangible, more present in our daily lives that also deeply affects our energy and well-being. Disorder, not just in our minds, but also around us. And you may have noticed, when the environment around us is chaotic, our mind becomes disorganized as well. Let's talk about that now. You know that day when you wake up determined to do everything differently, but when you get up, you're forced to face a pile of papers on the desk, clothes thrown around the room, and chaos that seems out of control. It feels like before the day even starts, you're already overwhelmed. Physical disorder has a direct impact on our mental state. When the space where we live and work is disorganized, it's as if our mind becomes as cluttered as the space around us, and the result, we become more distracted, more tired, less productive. It feels like everything we try to do takes twice the effort because the mess around us is constantly reminding us that something is out of place. Now let me ask you, how do you feel when you step into a clean, organized space where everything is in its place? The feeling of lightness is almost instant, right? You breathe better, think more clearly, and feel more in control, and this is no accident. The truth is, external disorder reflects and amplifies internal disorder. When we live in the middle of chaos, our mind ends up replicating this pattern, getting tangled in confused thoughts and disorganized emotions. That's why organizing the space around us isn't just an aesthetic matter, it's a mental health issue. And this is where a practice that can completely change the way you deal with your space, and consequently with your energy, comes in: minimalism. Minimalism isn't about living with the bare minimum, but about eliminating the excess. Everything that doesn't add value, that doesn't have a purpose, but is still occupying physical and mental space. Think about it. How many things do you have around you that you never even use, but are still there, gathering dust and energy? And it's not just objects. It's also commitments, responsibilities, and even people who don't add anything to your life, but are still there, taking up space from what really matters. So how do you start freeing yourself from this chaos? Simple. One step at a time. Start with what's within your reach now. It could be your workspace, a drawer in your closet, or even your email inbox. Take a corner, organize it, discard what's no longer necessary, and feel the immediate lightness that brings. Every item you eliminate is one less burden on your mind. And as you clean your space, you'll notice how this also creates room for more mental clarity, focus, and energy. Minimalism is about prioritizing the essential. It's about ensuring that everything around you has a clear purpose. It's not just about having fewer things, but creating an environment that supports you, inspires you, and contributes to your well-being. And you know what's even more interesting? As you organize the external, the internal begins to adjust automatically. Your mind, once agitated, finds more room to breathe, to focus, to create. So here's something for you to reflect on. What in your life, whether in your physical space or your emotions, needs to be organized? What can you eliminate or simplify to create more space for what truly matters? You don't need to transform everything at once. Start small, but start today. Because each act of organization, no matter how small, is already a step toward a lighter, clearer life. And in the end, that's what gives us the strength to keep moving forward without the weight of chaos holding us back. Now let's talk about another type of disorder, the one we create internally when we compare ourselves to others. After all, just like the chaos around us, these comparisons can fill our minds with frustration and drain our energy in a nearly invisible way. And if there's one thing more exhausting than dealing with physical chaos, it's getting stuck in the idea that the grass is always greener on the other side. Let's explore that. How many times have you found yourself scrolling through social media, seeing people who seem to be living the dream life? They have the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect trips, and then you look at your own life and suddenly everything feels so ordinary. Maybe you even think, why can't I be like that too? That's the trap, and it's a powerful one. Comparing yourself to others is a never-ending cycle that sucks your emotional and mental energy in a devastating way. Because the truth is, the more you look at others' success, the more you feel incapable of appreciating your own achievements. You start believing that nothing you do is enough. Now let me ask you, what's the price of that? How much time and energy have you wasted comparing yourself to someone living a completely different reality from yours? If we think clearly, we'll realize that these comparisons make no sense. After all, you and that person didn't walk the same path, didn't face the same challenges, and don't have the same goals. So why waste your precious time measuring your success by someone else's standard? Stoic philosophy offers a very powerful teaching in this regard. According to the Stoics, we should focus only on what is within our control, and the lives of others are definitely not under our control. What is within our control is our own progress, our own efforts, and our personal growth. The only parameter that really matters is how much you are evolving in relation to yourself. Think about it. Everyone has their own pace, their own battles. Comparing yourself to others is like running a race where you don't even know how far the other person has already run. The only race that makes sense is the one you run against the version of yourself from yesterday. Focusing on your own development is what keeps you moving, what makes you grow, and most importantly, what brings you genuine satisfaction. Now let me ask you another question. What have you accomplished that you can celebrate? How many times have you looked back and recognized how much you've grown, how much you've achieved, how much you've overcome? It can be something big or small, but I guarantee that you've made progress in your life, even if you don't always realize it. And it's this personal evolution that you should be valuing, because that's what really matters. The truth is, the grass on the other side only looks greener because you're seeing it from a distance. You don't know what's going on the other side. You don't see the difficulties, the insecurities, the internal battles that everyone faces. We all have our challenges, and no one is perfect. In the end, comparison is an illusion that only serves to pull you further away from what's truly important, your own path. So here's a suggestion. The next time you catch yourself comparing your life to someone else's, stop. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, am I focusing on what I can control? Am I celebrating my own progress? Every small step you take toward your goals counts. Don't let others' achievements diminish the value of your own effort. And remember, no one else is living your life. Only you know what you've been through to get where you are. Only you know the sacrifices you've made, the battles you've won, and the dreams you're still building. Value your path. Value your achievements. And leave comparisons behind. You don't need to be better than anyone. You just need to be better than the person you were yesterday. Now that we've set aside comparisons and started valuing our own progress, it's time to look inward once again, because just as we can get lost by looking at other people's lives, there's something else that also traps us and consumes us, but this time inside our own minds. I'm talking about excessive worry. Have you ever stopped to think about how much time and energy you dedicate to worrying about things that often never even happen? If so, let's reflect on that together now. How many nights have you spent tossing and turning, thinking about everything that could go wrong? How many times have you lived entire days with the weight of a worry that deep down you knew you couldn't control? Worry has that power. It traps you, paralyzes you, and in the end, drains your energy. Now, if we're being honest, it's natural for us to worry. It's part of our nature to think about the future, anticipate problems, and look for solutions. But the problem starts when this becomes an obsession, when, instead of solving something, worry turns into a cycle that doesn't allow you to live in the present. Let me ask you, how much of your mental energy is being consumed by worries about the future, things that may never happen? This is the big trap of worry. It puts us in a state of constant alert, as if we're always expecting the worst. And what does that do? It wears us out. It prevents us from enjoying the here and now. And here's an important truth. Most of the things you fear will never happen. How many times have you worried about a scenario that in the end never even came close to happening? It's like our mind gets stuck on a news channel that only shows the worst headlines, an endless stream of what if this goes wrong and what if that doesn't happen. But in reality, most of these scenarios never materialize. And even if something does go wrong, worrying won't change the outcome. What can change, however, is how you decide to face it. And this is where a powerful lesson from Stoic philosophy comes in. Focus on what is within your control, on what you can change, improve, or adjust. The rest, what's out of your control, let it go. It's not worth investing your energy in. So how do you stop getting lost in worries? First, recognize when you're letting yourself get carried away. Notice the moments when your mind starts to drift into these unlikely scenarios. Instead of feeding that cycle, interrupt it. Ask yourself, is this within my control? What can I do about it right now? If the answer is nothing, then it's time to change your focus. And here's a valuable tip. When you feel that worry is taking over, shift your attention to something that restores your mental energy. Meditation, for example, is a simple and effective practice that can help you recenter and bring your mind back to the present. Even if you've never meditated before, simply closing your eyes and focusing on your breathing for a few minutes can make a huge difference. Another strategy is physical exercise. When you move your body, your mind disconnects from the spiral of worries and you connect with the present moment. Walking, running, doing yoga, whatever it may be, are ways to release accumulated tension. It's like hitting the reset button, allowing your mind to find some peace. Now, think of something you love to do, something that brings you joy and keeps you completely in the present. It could be reading a book, cooking, or listening to music. Find those activities that recharge you, that bring your mind back to the present moment, and help you stop wasting energy on things beyond your control. Life already has enough challenges without you carrying the extra weight of worries that may never come true. Imagine how it would feel if, instead of worrying, you chose to trust yourself, knowing that when problems arise, you'll be able to face them. And until then, you can live more lightly, enjoying each moment with more presence. So next time your mind starts filling up with worries, ask yourself, is this within my control? What can I do about it now? And if the answer is nothing, take a deep breath, let it go, and direct your energy toward what truly matters. You deserve a peaceful mind. And believe me, you have the power to choose where to invest your energy. Don't let worries steal that power. Now that we understand the power of letting go of worries and focusing on what's within our control, let's dive into another aspect that might be draining your energy without you realizing it. Monotony. Yes, that routine that traps you in the same steps every day, turning your enthusiasm into constant exhaustion. Because sometimes it's not the stress or worries that consume us, but the simple fact that everything feels the same. What if I told you there's a way to break this cycle and bring life back to your days? Have you ever felt like you're living the same day over and over again? You wake up at the same time, drink the same coffee, drive the same route to work, do the same tasks. And then you reach the end of the day with the feeling that something is missing. It's like everything is one big repetition, as if your life is on autopilot. Welcome to the trap of monotony. Monotony has a silent but powerful effect on our energy. It puts us in a state of autopilot, where little by little our enthusiasm, creativity, and even our sense of purpose start to disappear. The days pass, but they all feel the same. You feel like you're living, but not really living. And what happens when this goes on too long? You start to feel stuck. The small joys of daily life seem to vanish, and what remains is a routine with no color, no sparkle, no novelty. The body and mind, tired of this repetition, begin to lose vitality. And deep down, you ask yourself, is this all there is? But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that way. In fact, small changes can make a huge difference. You know that coffee you drink every morning? How about trying something different tomorrow, or maybe taking a quick walk outside before starting your day? The key to breaking the cycle of monotony is to vary your habits, even in small doses. I'm not saying you need to change your life completely overnight, but gradually adding new elements to your routine can make all the difference. For example, if your workday is always the same, why not try a new way of organizing your tasks? Or perhaps challenge yourself to learn something new, a different skill. This not only stimulates your mind, but also brings back that feeling of discovery, of challenge. Novelty renews our energy, Monotony feeds on the lack of change, so the best way to combat it is to step out of your comfort zone, even in small steps. A walk in a place you've never been, trying a new hobby, listening to different music. The simple act of changing one detail in your day can already bring a sense of freshness. Now think with me. How many times have you wished for more excitement in your routine but didn't know where to start? The answer is simple. Start with what's within your reach, because just as a plant needs light to grow, we need small doses of novelty to keep our mind and body energized. And the most amazing part is that these changes don't have to be drastic. Small variations in your everyday life are enough to break the cycle of monotony. Something as simple as changing your route to work or including a light physical activity in the middle of your day can make you feel renewed. Another important point is that often monotony is fueled by a lack of challenge. When you're always doing the same things without feeling stimulated, your vital energy gets drained. So seek new challenges. They can be big or small, but what matters is that they take you out of the same old routine. Maybe it's time to invest in a project you've always wanted to start, or learn something that has always fascinated you, but you never had time to explore. So, if you're feeling like your days are dragging, stop and ask yourself, what can I change today? It might be a small thing, but that small thing could be the start of a big change. Because life is full of possibilities, and it's up to you to decide how you're going to fill it. You're not stuck in your routine. You have the power to transform it. Life doesn't have to be an endless repetition. Small changes every day can bring back the energy and excitement you thought you had lost. After talking about the importance of breaking monotony and bringing more color to our daily lives, let's now turn to something we often underestimate, but which directly impacts our energy and well-being: sleep. Because it's no use renewing your habits and adding novelty to your routine if your body and mind are exhausted. And one of the biggest causes of this exhaustion? Lack of sleep. If you feel like no matter what you do, you're never rested enough, this conversation is for you. Let's be honest. How many times have you sacrificed hours of sleep to finish a task or watch just one more episode of that series? And how many of those times did you wake up the next day feeling like you'd been hit by a truck? Lack of sleep is one of the biggest energy thieves we face, and we often don't realize how serious it can be. Sleep isn't just physical rest, it's the fuel that keeps your body and mind functioning at full capacity. When you don't sleep enough, you're basically asking your body to operate on an empty tank. And the result? Constant tiredness, lack of concentration, irritability, and in the long run, even more serious health problems. It's like trying to drive a car without gas. It might keep going for a while, but it won't get far without breaking down. And what do? We pretend everything is fine. We spend days, weeks, even months accumulating sleep deprivation that reflects in every aspect of our lives. That project that takes 3 times longer than it should. The bad mood that comes out of nowhere. The lack of energy to even enjoy the things you love most. All of this often comes from something so simple, but that we neglect. We're not getting enough sleep. And here's a truth many don't want to face. You can't make up for lost sleep on the weekends. Rest needs to be regular, a routine that your body recognizes and adjusts to. There's no magic formula to recover from nights and nights of poor sleep. Now you might be asking, but how do I do that? My routine is hectic, I barely have time. The truth is, with a little adjustment, it's possible to create a sleep routine that works for you. And it starts with small changes that have a big impact. First, establish a set time to go to bed and wake up, even on weekends. It may seem like a small detail, but consistency is what helps your body get into a natural rhythm. Our bodies love routine, and the more regular your sleep schedule is, the easier it will be to truly rest. Another fundamental point is the environment in which you sleep. Ask yourself, is your room prepared for quality sleep? This means ensuring the space is dark, quiet, and cool. Avoid using electronic devices at least an hour before bed. The glow from screens can trick your brain into thinking it's still daytime, making it harder to fall asleep. And of course, adopt relaxing practices before bed. It could be reading a book, listening to soft music, or even practicing meditation. The important thing is to signal to your body that it's time to slow down. These small rituals create a mental environment conducive to rest. Think of sleep as your greatest ally. When you sleep well, you wake up refreshed, with energy to face the day. Sleep is the foundation for physical and mental health. Without it, your cognitive functions suffer, stress increases, and even your immune system weakens. Now stop and think, how much could you accomplish if you were well rested? What would it be like to wake up every day feeling completely renewed? If you're always exhausted, no matter how much you try to organize your routine or change your habits, it won't work, because your body is begging for rest, and the best way to give it that is by prioritizing your sleep. So here's the challenge. Today, make sleep a priority. Set a time to go to bed, prepare your environment, and allow yourself to relax before you lie down. Rest is the key to success in all other areas of your life. Choose a time to sleep today and commit to sticking to it for the next few days, maintaining regularity. Check your sleep environment. Is it dark, quiet, and comfortable? What can you adjust to improve your sleep quality? Share in the comments. How has lack of sleep impacted your routine? And what do you plan to change to improve your rest? Now let's turn to another aspect that, although invisible, can be just as exhausting as a sleepless night. Self-criticism. Because often, it's not physical tiredness that brings us down, but the mental pressure we put on ourselves. And this is where self-criticism comes in. That internal voice that, if left unchecked, can consume our self-esteem and rob us of our confidence. Let's talk about how to change that dynamic. How many times have you caught yourself revisiting a conversation or a situation thinking, I should have done this differently? Or, why do I always mess up? Self-criticism is that inner voice that, instead of guiding us toward improvement, often traps us in a cycle of self-sabotage. It can be silent, but the impact it has on our energy and self-esteem is devastating. We all have moments of self-criticism. After all, it's normal to want to improve, to grow, and to learn from our mistakes. But the problem arises when this criticism stops being constructive and becomes a force that paralyzes us. Have you ever stopped to think about how much energy you're wasting being your own worst critic? Excessive self-criticism is a silent enemy. It hides in your insecurities, in your unrealistic expectations, and in the standards of perfection you've created for yourself. And the worst part? It steals your peace of mind. With every thought of, I'm not good enough, your confidence shrinks, and along with it, your energy vanishes. But let me tell you something. Not every mistake is a failure. In fact, most of the mistakes you make are simply opportunities to learn and do things differently next time. Stoic philosophy teaches us to separate real errors from exaggerated perceptions. This means recognizing when something went wrong, but also understanding that you are not defined by that mistake. Think about this. Are you being fair to yourself? Or are you holding yourself to a higher standard than anyone else would ever hold you to? When you make a mistake, instead of drowning in guilt and regret, why not practice a little more self-compassion? Being kind to yourself doesn't mean being complacent. It means acknowledging that you're human and that making mistakes is part of the growth process. Self-compassion is a powerful concept. Imagine you're talking to a friend who just made a mistake. Would you judge them the same way you judge yourself? Probably not. You would support them, encourage them to move forward, and remind them that this mistake doesn't define who they are. So why not adopt the same approach with yourself? You deserve the same kindness you offer others. And here's an important truth. Excessive self-criticism doesn't make you better, it wears you out. When you're stuck in self-critical thoughts, you're wasting energy that could be used to improve, to learn, and to grow. The key is to find a balance between recognizing your mistakes and being compassionate with yourself. Now I want you to reflect. How many times have you been trapped in self-critical thoughts throughout the day, and what has that brought you that's positive? Instead of staying stuck in that spiral, how about changing your focus? Instead of thinking, I messed up, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? The truth is, the path to growth isn't perfect, and that's okay. Because what really matters isn't avoiding mistakes, but learning from them and moving forward stronger and wiser. So next time that inner voice starts criticizing you, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this criticism really fair? What can I do differently without blaming myself? This shift in mindset is what will free you from the trap of self-criticism and allow you to move forward with more confidence and energy. After understanding how self-criticism can consume us and learning to practice self-compassion, it's important to reflect on another source of exhaustion that often comes from outside, but that we allow in: the overload of responsibilities. Because just like self-criticism, taking on more than we can handle also drains our energy and leaves us exhausted, with no room for what really matters. And if you constantly feel overwhelmed, it's time to redefine what you really can and should carry. How many times have you found yourself saying yes to a task that deep down you knew you didn't have the time or energy to take on? Maybe it was at work, when taking on an extra project seemed like the logical choice. Or at home, when you felt obligated to take on another responsibility even though you were completely worn out. The overload of responsibilities is like an endless marathon. The more you run, the further away the finish line seems. Taking on too many things at once can make it seem like we're being productive, that we're managing to handle it all. But the truth is, the more responsibilities we pile on, the more our energy gets drained. What starts as a to-do list turns into a constant source of stress, and little by little, both body and mind become increasingly tired. And suddenly you find yourself overwhelmed, feeling like no matter how much you do, it's never enough. The problem with this overload is that it creates a vicious cycle. The more you try to juggle, the further away you get from what truly matters: your health, your peace, your well-being. Let me ask you, how many times have you taken on responsibilities that weren't really yours just to avoid disappointing someone? Or maybe because you felt that if you didn't do it, no one else would. The truth is, we can't carry the world on our shoulders, and that's okay. Learning to recognize our limits is one of the most important steps to maintaining our energy and avoiding burnout. And here's the key point. Delegating isn't weakness. Saying no when necessary isn't a lack of commitment, but rather an act of self-care and emotional intelligence. You don't have to do everything alone. Knowing how to prioritize what really matters and sharing responsibilities when possible is what allows you to preserve your energy for what truly requires your attention. Now, if you find yourself taking on more than you should, it's time to reevaluate your priorities. Look at your to-do list. What really needs to be done by you? Which responsibilities can be delegated? And most importantly, what can you let go of without feeling guilty? Often, we overload ourselves because we believe saying no will disappoint those around us. But the truth is, if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to help anyone the way you'd like. If you keep taking on more than you can handle, the cost will be high. Your mental and physical health will pay the price. Setting clear boundaries is essential. This means being honest with yourself and others about what you can realistically take on. Sometimes this can be uncomfortable at first, but saying no is a powerful way to preserve your energy and sanity. And the most interesting thing is that when you start delegating and saying no consciously, not only will you feel lighter, but you'll also realize that things keep working without you having to carry all the weight alone. This allows you to focus on what's truly important, your personal and professional priorities. So think about it. How much of your exhaustion comes from responsibilities you shouldn't have taken on in the first place? And what can you start doing today to reverse that? Here's a challenge. Next time someone asks you to take on yet another responsibility, before saying yes, stop and reflect. Ask yourself, do I really have the time and energy for this? If the answer is no, practice the power of saying no in a respectful but firm way. You'll be surprised by the relief it brings. After talking about the importance of setting boundaries and learning to delegate to avoid the overload of responsibilities, let's touch on something even deeper: acceptance. Often, the biggest source of our exhaustion comes from an internal struggle, resistance to reality. Because just like trying to do everything alone can exhaust you, fighting against what cannot be changed keeps you trapped in a battle that can never be won. And this is one of the biggest traps that drains our energy. Let's understand how to get out of this cycle. How many times have you found yourself trying to change something that deep down you knew was out of your control? It could be a situation at work, someone's behavior, or even life circumstances that simply didn't go the way you planned. And the more you tried to force a change, the more frustrated and tired you became. Fighting against reality is like trying to push a mountain. No matter how much effort you put in, it won't move. This constant resistance to reality drains your energy in a brutal way. Denying what cannot be changed is a massive waste of mental and emotional strength. Instead of accepting things as they are, you find yourself trapped in a draining battle, hoping the situation will somehow change on its own. But the truth is, life doesn't always work that way. It's like swimming against a current. The more strength you exert, the faster you get exhausted, until the point where exhaustion forces you to stop. And in the end, the current carries you where it was always going to go. So why not save that energy by accepting the direction of the current and focusing on something that's actually within your reach? Here's where Stoic philosophy offers powerful wisdom. Accepting what's beyond our control isn't giving up, it's liberating. Because by stopping the waste of energy on what you cannot change, you gain more mental and emotional space to invest in what you truly can influence. It's not about resignation, but about redirecting your strength toward what you can do differently. Let me ask you, how much energy have you spent worrying or getting frustrated over things that are completely beyond your control? Maybe it's someone's behavior that you wanted to change, or a past mistake you can't let go of. Whatever it is, if it's beyond your control, this struggle is only draining you. Acceptance, as the Stoics teach, isn't passivity. It's an act of emotional intelligence. When you accept reality, you stop wasting energy on something that cannot be changed and start focusing on what's truly within your reach. It could be a change in attitude, a new approach to solving a problem, or simply choosing how you react to a situation. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You can get angry, honk, complain, and waste your energy on something you can't change. Or you can accept that you're there, use that time to listen to a podcast, reflect, or simply take a deep breath and wait. The traffic jam won't disappear just because you're frustrated, but your attitude toward it can transform your experience. Now expand this logic to other areas of your life. How many situations are you trying to control that are in reality not under your command? How much time and energy have you wasted trying to change the unchangeable? And what if, instead of resisting, you practiced acceptance? Not resigned acceptance, but strategic acceptance, which frees you to focus on what truly matters. So here's a suggestion. Next time you find yourself fighting against a reality that cannot be altered, ask yourself, is this really under my control? If the answer is no, take a deep breath and accept it. And most importantly, redirect your energy towards something you can change. Acceptance brings you peace, gives you clarity, and allows you to invest in what truly makes a difference. It's like letting go of a weight you've been carrying for a long time and finally feeling the lightness to move forward freely. Life isn't perfect, and things don't always happen the way we want, but that doesn't mean you have to exhaust yourself fighting the inevitable. Now that we understand the power of acceptance and how letting go of what's beyond our control can free us, there's one last reflection we need to make to ensure our energy is well preserved. Because there's no point in accepting reality and letting go of external responsibilities if you're not dedicating time to take care of yourself. And this is something that in the rush of daily life, we often forget. Let's talk about how this lack of time for yourself might be leading you to burnout. It sounds simple, but how many times have you found yourself so caught up with commitments, deadlines, meetings, and responsibilities that you ended up forgetting to take care of yourself? In the hustle of life, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that handling everything around you is enough. But what about you? Where's the time for your rest, your mental health, and for what makes you feel good? The truth is, when we don't dedicate time to ourselves, we end up burning out from the inside. The routine becomes heavy, commitments seem endless, and suddenly you find yourself with no energy to keep going. You feel like you're just reacting to life without really living it. And deep down, that's what happens when you forget to reserve moments for self-care. Now let me ask you, when was the last time you took time just for yourself? I'm not talking about a few minutes here and there, but a real moment, a space reserved for what you love to do, to rest, reflect, and take care of the most important person, yourself. The problem is that in our fast-paced society, we often think it's selfish to take this time. It seems like there's always something more important to do. But here's the truth. There is nothing more important than your mental and emotional health. Because if you're not okay, everything around you starts to fall apart too. Forgetting to take care of yourself is like trying to drive a car with an empty tank. You might keep going for a while, but eventually you'll stop. And the worst part? When you're burnt out, your ability to handle life's challenges drastically decreases. Even the simplest tasks start to seem impossible, and stress builds up. Stoic philosophy reminds us that we need balance. We're not machines programmed to run without stopping. We need moments of introspection, of pause, of personal care. It's in these moments that we recharge our energy, renew our mental clarity, and come back stronger to face whatever's next. And here's a powerful lesson. Taking time for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. By reserving moments for self-care, you're investing in your mental, physical, and emotional health. This makes you more present, more creative, and more resilient to handle the demands of daily life. If you're wondering how to start, the answer is simple. Create small, daily rituals. It could be a walk outdoors, reading before bed, or even a few minutes of meditation at the beginning or end of the day. The important thing is that these moments are sacred to you. They're what connect you with yourself and help you find balance amidst the chaos. And you know what's even more interesting? When you take care of yourself, everything around you gets better. Your relationships become lighter, your work flows more easily, and even challenges seem less heavy. Because now you have the energy to handle whatever comes your way. So stop for a moment and reflect. How much time have you been dedicating to yourself lately? And more importantly, what can you start doing today to change that? Small moments of self-care inserted into your routine can completely transform the way you live. You deserve it. You deserve moments to relax, to reflect, to reconnect with who you are beyond all your responsibilities. After all, how can you take care of everything and everyone if you're not taking care of yourself first? Remember, taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's essential. By reserving time for yourself, you strengthen yourself to face the world with more energy and clarity. After all, you deserve this break. Now that you know how to identify and deal with everything that drains your energy, whether it's the people around you, perfectionism, disorder, or even excessive worry, it's time to put these strategies into practice. Remember that protecting your mental and emotional peace is a daily choice. Don't let the wear and tear of everyday life steal your well-being. After all, you deserve to live more lightly, with more purpose, and of course with more energy to focus on what truly matters. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning how to improve your quality of life, don't forget to hit the like button below and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss any of the upcoming content that will help you lead a more balanced and happy life. And if you have any experiences or tips on how to deal with these energy thieves, share them in the comments. Let's continue the conversation there.